All right, guys, welcome to another edition of Monday Morning MMA. Grab a coffee, grab some eggs, and let's talk some violence. Jack Gotzel and Frank Bonata of Tarps Off Sports alongside me here today. Boys, we're going to jump into it right away. But before we do, I want to implore everybody, click that Discord link in the bio, hit subscribe, like, it helps us out. All combat sports content all the time. And fellas, UFC Vegas 48 went down last night. Jamal Hill, absolutely vicious knockout win over Johnny Walker, 255 into the first round. Kind of expected Johnny Walker to take the L in this one, but I didn't expect it to be such a violent knockout in the manner that it happened. Jack, I see you making a face over there because you were saying this was going to happen all week. So let's kick it to Jack before we kick it to Frank.
Yeah, I predicted the first round knockout. I didn't think Johnny Walker had really any place main eventing any UFC event with his last couple performances. Not the highest caliber of fighter in the UFC. And I think Jamal is a guy that's really streaking in a good way. And I think he's going to start getting a lot tougher opponents. But what a weird knockout that was. You just see like his hands go up. It was almost like a delayed reaction to the punch.
It was like a knockout in UFC 4.
Yeah, it's what it looked like. It was like a glitch.
Legit what I was thinking.
It was like a glitch before he went back. It was crazy. And I don't like to laugh at these guys because, you know, anyone who gets in that cage is a fucking warrior. But like sometimes shit like that happens. And it was kind of funny. What did you make of that, Frank? Jamal Hill, he made a statement.
Yeah, I mean, we've always known that he's got great hands. That's been his thing since he came into the UFC. And yeah, like Jack, I didn't predict the first round finish, but you know, I thought he'd get it done. Johnny Walker hasn't advanced since moving to SBG Ireland. He's just sort of stagnated, if anything. He's a great athlete, physically superior almost to most of the people in that division, but on a skill level, they are just guys who are just better than him. They're advancing, they're getting better whilst he's stagnating.
People aren't improving at SBG Ireland. I've never heard that before.
Oh, a little Kavanaugh shade, Jack. Do I hint some Kavanaugh shade?
There's a little bit of shade there. I still think Gunnar Nelson's the only fighter that's really been coached up at all at SBG Ireland that's looked to improve since SBG Ireland's been a thing, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of commentary that comes out of there. Obviously, you see McGregor comes into these fights and he has these challenges, and you know, people are always just, you know, I know like someone like George St. Pierre said he would have Conor McGregor do a full camp with him. It almost seems like, you know, some of these guys maybe need to break out and not. I find those guys are just super loyal to there, and it's like they don't want to go and grab any skills or any coaching from anywhere else. And it, you know, I'm not one to speculate. I don't know. I've never been there, but it's like, do you think maybe there's like you just don't do that in that gym, or what's up with that? There seems to be like this immaculate loyalty there.
I'm wondering how well versed these guys are over there, because you don't see a lot of great ground game coming out of SBG Ireland, with the exception of Gunnar Nelson. Conor McGregor really never got that elite ground game. I know people talk, oh, it improved, it got better, but it never got to the level it needed to be at.
Yeah, no, I agree. Not even Dylan Dennis could help him. Bing bong. Moving on though, Joaquin Buckley, he got the win. I know, Frank, you maybe thought it was a little bit of a sus win, but Dale motherfucking Brown was in the corner, the king of self-defense, undefeated. I mean, is he up for MMA Coach of the Year already?
I don't know if I want to talk about this early in the segment. You're kind of stealing my thunder for the end of the episode here.
Well, we got to bring him up. I mean, he was the star of the show. Buckley was fantastic. Frank, you thought he lost? I thought he won that fight for sure. I want to hear why you think he lost.
Well, based on the scoring criteria, if you look at round one, Al Hassan landed bigger shots. The main thing that Buckley was doing was getting takedowns, and he was getting takedowns at will, but he wasn't holding him down, and he wasn't delivering any damage from the top, really. Obviously, the second round, give that to Buckley all day long. He looked really good. And when he started moving to the body, you know, having Al Hassan against the cage, I thought that was real slick. But then third round, I don't think anyone's going to argue that wasn't Al Hassan's. When he got top control and was landing elbows and strikes from the top. I gave it to Al Hassan, but it was close. You know, I'm not mad that it was a split decision towards Buckley, but just watching it live, I had it scored to Al Hassan.
Well, if it was one championship criteria, it absolutely would have been Al Hassan. But in the UFC, I have to go with Buckley there, but it's a close fight. And I don't think you're wild for having it scored the other way.
No, exactly. Like you just said, you nailed it on the head, Jack. If it wasn't, if it was that open scoring system, yeah, I think the decision goes the other way. But you know, there's the way to win fights in the UFC, and I thought Buckley just kind of followed the steps to get a 3-round, like you said, split decision win. Wasn't pretty, but it is what it is. I mean, Buckley moves on, and we'll see where it comes next for him. Anyone else stick out for you on this card, Jack?
Well, you see Jessica Rose Clark and Deanna Belbita both took losses. Fan favorites on Twitter. You can say what you want about their crowd, but it is tough to see two top prospects that have gotten a lot of eyes on women's MMA both take losses on the same card.
Yeah, Jess took the loss, which I was a little surprised about. Belbita's fight against DePaul. You know me, like obviously we had Belbita was going to do our episode, and her coach and manager Crew Allen Hagelman, great guy, love Crew, we're personal friends. That said, I thought she came up short in the fight. I don't think she did enough in the final round. I thought she looked great in the first round, had a difficult second round, and I'm with you. I thought Gloria did more to come out on top. Frank?
Yeah, I gave it to Gloria. But again, tight, real tight, like probably even closer to, for me at least, than the Al Hassan fight. I got to the judges' scorecards and I was like, well, I'd give it to Paula, but honestly, could go either way. The Jess fight, though, I thought that was a bizarre choice of game plan for her. You know, she's a good striker, well-credentialed striker, yep. And Egger, her route to victory is judo throws from the clinch.
Right.
And what does Jess do? She clinches up straight away twice as well. She gets thrown, gets up, clinches again. It's just...
Yeah, it was like you just like walking into danger when you walk in and engage in those clinches. And you know, I love Jess. I hope she comes back and learns from it. She's great. She's like, you know, her fights are usually violent, man. Like there's blood, and like you said, she's a great striker. Was surprised to see it, but I think she'll bounce back. She's a gangster. Speaking of gangsters, guys, Bobby Green is, I didn't have to tell you this, but this guy is a certified fucking gangster. Bobby Green is stepping in on what was 10 days notice to fight Islam Makhachev after Beneil Dariush pulled out for an injury. And I want to start right off the hop and saying some people on that MMA Twitter, I know people like to talk to those guys. You guys know how I feel. I think some of those kids are so fucking stupid, man. It's like they're sitting there like, oh, Dariush backed out. Dariush running scared. Absolutely false. Dariush is a fucking warrior. He would be in that octagon every single time. He's the last guy that should be getting accused of that bullshit. And I think as that started to percolate, other guys in the sport came right out and told them what it was. But Bobby Green, listen, I don't think it's going to be listen, it's probably more of a smart financial decision to Bobby Green than like, should he be taking on Islam Makhachev on 10 days notice? Not really. But Bobby Green is a gangster, and if he wins, title shot automatically. I'm
not giving Bobby Green a huge chance for victory in this, but I'm dying to see Bobby Green get the victory. And if there's no title shot, if Bobby Green wins, we riot.
Oh, dude, we fucking go right to Vegas and I will protest. I'll bring fucking, I'm from Canada. I know people with trucks will fucking honk, honk, honk. I'll be honking on Dana White's fucking front lawn if they don't give Bobby Green a title shot after this. You kidding me? Bobby Green, there's only one guarantee in this fight, and that there will be violence, because everywhere Bobby Green goes, there's violence.
Well, unless Makhachev grabs him right away and wrestles him to the ground.
But is that Makhachev's game, though? He's not Khabib. That's what you got to remember. He does like to engage in the striking sometimes.
He does, and he might have a little chip on his shoulder, too.
No doubt. And also, on the flip side, you got to remember that before Bobby Green was an MMA fighter, he was a wrestler. He's got experience. Look, he's not a Khabib. He's not an Islam. He's not a Daniel Cormier. But he has experience in that field. He's not a complete novice. He knows how to handle himself.
Well, Bobby Green has my favorite fighting style, which is hood.
Yeah, hood is the best fight style for fans. And even some fighters love it. And I mean, Bobby Green's such a fan favorite, man, and good on him. Just like Sean Strickland says, like just a good company guy. I'm a company man, and Bobby Green is a goddamn gangster. We love him here, but I want to move it on, guys, to another sport. Bare Knuckle Fight Club Knuckle Mania 2 went down last night. I put 2 in quotations because they actually tried to do a Knuckle Mania 2 and it didn't go so hot. So this was actually like Knuckle Mania 2-3, but that's a conversation for another day. Shout out Adam Labar. Chad Money Mendez walks into the sport of bare knuckle and gets the victory. Absolutely dropped him a few times. Listen, they fed Chad Money Mendez, who they spent a good amount of money on. They fed him. I would call him a tin can. I don't like to use that term too much in this, but I think the guy was 1-0 as an amateur, or 2-0 as an amateur.
Wasn't he a rapper?
What's that?
Wasn't he a rapper or something like that?
Yeah, I think he had dabbled into a rap career a little bit. They kind of alley-ooped Mendez into the sport, which
and
I
he
think
didn't
is
even
fair.
win that impressively. He didn't even take him out in like the first round. Did it go the distance, I believe? Or
Yeah.
No, he finished him.
Finished him in the 5th round. But I mean, he should have finished him in the first. It was almost over.
He dropped him in every round or nearly every round?
I don't think the third, if I'm mistaken, but I think it was every round. But
what I found interesting is that Mendez is still contracted to the UFC, I think, from what I saw on MMA Fighting.
Yeah, they actually allowed him to take that BKFC fight, which is like, I can't think of many other instances in which Dana's ever allowed people to compete while they have a UFC contract. I mean,
Ben Askren.
Right.
But
yeah, exactly. But they would, they let McGregor fight, but Dana and the UFC took half that fucking purse as well. So, I mean, if it makes dollars and cents for the company, they usually allow it. But good on Mendez. He goes over to the world of the bare knuckle fight club, enters the squared circle, knuckled up, and got a victory. Now, the co-main event of the evening, which was marketed as the main event, there's always one thing in bare knuckle fight club. It's either the start time is advertised wrong or the bout order is wrong. They had been advertising this as Perry and Julian Lane, and that ends up being the co-main event of the evening. Platinum Mike Perry, after all the antics leading up to the fight, he pulled a bat out at the press conference, and all the craziness that went down. Both men, who I'm pretty sure are Caucasian, I'm not sure on Julian Lane, they were throwing the N-bombs out. It was just so on brand. It was a bare knuckle fight leading into it. Mike Perry dominated Julian Lane, got the decision win. But I mean, that was a violent fight, Jack. Both those guys went to a dark place.
Yeah, it was a violent fight. Julian Lane brought his all, but he completely outclassed by Mike Perry. There's just different levels to it. Mike Perry might not have looked so good at the end of his career in the UFC, but you have to understand that the guys in the UFC are the best of the best. So even though Mike Perry didn't look very good against them, he's going to wipe the floor with a lot of these guys in Bare Knuckle Fight Club.
Absolutely. And the thing with Perry too is they wanted him to be a star so bad. What did he have, like 15 fights against like 15 top rated guys, like ranked opponents, or 10 fights against ranked opponents or some shit like that. I don't know the exact stat off my head, but they were giving Perry fights that were ahead of what he should have been fighting, because he does have that huge personality. He is true to how he is. And listen, outside the UFC, he won his fight in the triad, and he won his fight in bare knuckles. So the life after the UFC hasn't been bad for Mike Perry.
You forgot about his elite coaching as well. His girlfriend is probably one of the best coaches in mixed martial arts.
She's got it. She's 1-0 to start the year. Ended the year last year with a bang at Triad. She's killing it, bro. The misses, Maybe that's the key, Frank. You got to have your bird in the corner with you.
Maybe. I'd love to see her get like a super team of her. What's his name? Dust.
Yeah.
What's his name?
The safety guy.
Yeah.
What's
his
name?
In Buckley's corner. Dane?
Oh, his name? That's Dale Brown.
Dale Brown. Yes.
Dale Brown.
And then Joshua Fabia as well. Get the three of those.
That's a team.
Diego Sanchez. Oh, God. That's horrifying. Well, anyway, guys, let me bang, bro. He comes up short. Mike Perry gives him the beats. And Britton Hart, the wife of Joey Beltran, the heavyweight king of bare knuckle, she comes up short in her women's 125 division title fight against Ferreira. It was, it seemed like it took her about fourth round until she really got going. She showed a ton of heart in that fight, but Ferreira was too much for her.
But are we ever going to see a boring Britton Hart fight? Like, I would watch her fight any day of the week. She just comes forward and makes it so interesting. Like, she lost, but like, I hope they gave them a fight of the night bonus or something.
Absolutely.
That was crazy.
That girl has no quit, man. That girl has absolutely zero quit, because it would have been easy for her to start feeling sorry for herself after the first 3 rounds and, kind of tail off. But she did the opposite of that. She came out, knew she was going to have to do something decisive to win the fight, and the girl tried to do it. Big respect to her. And we're going over to the UK now, Frank. Dun, 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 dun. Kell Brook knocks out Amir Khan in the 6th round. There was a lot of anticipation over this fight. End of the guy's careers, 17 years in the making. This, that, and the other, Jack. We had spoken about it. Brook, I had said to you, if he's going to win, it's going to be a knockout. And if Khan's going to win, he's going to drag out a decision victory. Brook does what he has to do and finishes him.
Well, not so fast on the end of their careers. Kell Brook, right after the win, got on the old Bird app and started calling some people out for a possible final fight. It's always tough for
the final fight. It's like Cher's fucking what did she do? The farewell tour that lasted fucking 21 years or something like that. Yeah, maybe
it's so hard for fighters to walk away, especially when you look as good as Kell Brook did in that fight. He won every single round. He won every single second of the fight, and especially in the first 2 rounds, came out just looking to take Khan's head off.
Yes.
Just absolute circus style haymakers, looking for that huge finish. He wanted an absolute highlight reel in that fight. Unfortunately, he didn't get it. He still got the stoppage due to the volume, but he was looking for that huge highlight.
Yeah. Frank, did you catch that?
Only the finish and a couple of the in-round highlights. I didn't watch it live because I think I was watching the UFC at the time. End of the day, Amir Khan is an incredibly talented fighter whose chin just hasn't held up. I think that's it, really. It's a bit of a story of what if, how great could he have been if his chin had stood the test of time. Kell Brook, I mean, honestly, fighting's like a drug, isn't it? It seems like it, at least to those guys. They can't give it up once you get hooked on it. Especially if you one last win, it just drags you back in. Credit to Chaz Skelly, actually, on the UFC card, who had his last fight for the UFC and then went on and promoted his roof construction business with Paul Felder, which was
Let's go.
Love to see it.
Love to see that. Love to see that. That's wicked, man. I love it. That's good for the sport when guys are able to get out healthy and move on. And there's so much life to be had after fighting. But I want to turn this into a little bit of a somber mood. Everybody's wondering what is going on with current UFC heavyweight Francis Ngannou, who is out of contract with the UFC. He does have that championship clause where he could fight, but he's not going to exercise that in the time due to the injury. Plus, it just doesn't make dollars and cents. The news coming out is the UFC and Francis Ngannou are still far apart in contract negotiations. I still think we see the Cameroonian monster, strongest, most feared man in the world. I think he's going to make that move into boxing and get a couple of big paydays. I'm not saying he's done in the UFC forever. I think you could see him fight at like a UFC 300 or, like kind of like what they did with Brock, but doesn't look so great at the moment at Francis Ngannou coming back to the UFC, which was surprising to me because boxing promoter Eddie Hearn, I was listening to him on Ariel's show, and he was like pretty certain they were going to end up figuring it out. Like even after the last fight, he's like, I just don't see any way they allow him to not come back. What do you guys think about this situation?
Well, in a recent interview, Francis Ngannou was talking on Dana White and the relationship they have, and talked about how after Francis took those back-to-back losses, he felt like Dana has hated him ever since, and Dana White was no longer a fan of him, and he hasn't felt support since around 2018. So now he's finally in that point where he can try to get out of that contract. I think he has one more fight left, or he can just wait it out. I think he's been thinking about making this move for 4 years, and he's going to be very stubborn about this. It's going to be very hard for the UFC to come to the table after Francis feels he's been mistreated for 4 years and try to find something to make that all okay.
Add to all of that as well the fact that Scott Coker is stepping up now and being like, well, if he parts ways with the UFC, we'll take him at Bellator. And, you know they'd be happy to let him go and box as much as he wants.
Yeah, probably. That's the thing is I think he still wants to do MMA. It's just he needs assurances that he'll be allowed to do that. Coker, you're right. Not only will they give him the bag, they'll let him go box. They'll let him go do whatever. Coker's pretty chill like that. Dana White, if you're doing something like a mega fight with the Tyson Fury, he's looking to do what they did with Conor and Floyd and take half that purse right through to the UFC, half that 100 million. You know what I mean? So and Francis ain't going to have that. Jack, you're right. He ain't going to have that after the last 4 years. There's no way they're going to, he needs a compete clause where he can go anywhere. And the VIG is zero. He ain't giving them a dime.
So round table, let's go. Frank, you first. Do you think the UFC and Francis figure it out?
I do, actually, in all honesty. I think they will. They've got a whole year to do it, haven't they? And it is somewhat dependent on how things play out. John Jones, Stipe Miocic, Cyril Gane, Taito Ibasa.
Yeah, let's go.
Who knows how that is going to play out? And I'm pretty sure by come summer of this year, we'll probably have a much better idea of the way things are going to go, because I'm sure the heavyweight landscape will have cleared out somewhat. For now, I'm going to say yes. I think they do sort it out.
Chris, your thoughts? Or sorry, Frank.
No, go on.
Oh, no, I don't think they figure it out right away. I think Francis lets it expire. I think in the new year, 2023, he goes over. Maybe he boxes an Ortiz or a Ruiz. I don't think it's smart to jump up into the likes of a Tyson Fury unless they're doing that 4-ounce glove thing that Tyson suggested. Then who cares? Because listen, boxing guys, they can spar, they can hit and everything. It changes. It changes when you put the 4-ounce gloves on. That's a whole other feeling of getting punched. That a boxing glove, even 6 and 10 ounces, doesn't compare to the 4. There's nothing like the 4. I think it would be the only way that if you're in Ngannou, you really take that money fight right away. But I mean, there's guys, there's AJ, there's Wilder, there's Ruiz, there's Ortiz. Young kid just made his debut, but got the bronze medal at the Olympics. Clark, he could be another year developed. He might be looking at raising his profile as well in the heavyweight division. Might be a great spot for Francis to come and make his pro debut there. But I do.
Oh, sorry. Well, one last thing is we're looking at other MMA promotions. You're talking about Scott Coker and Bellator, but hasn't won championships. Chatri said that he's looking to build a heavyweight division for the last 2 years. I've heard him say it in press conferences over and over again. If you're looking to build a heavyweight division, is there a fighter on the planet that you can build better around right now than Francis Ngannou? Absolutely not.
Can we afford him though?
They can afford him. It's just, will it affect Francis's brand in North America, which is a big market, not even just North America, Western civilization, because, one championship is pretty strictly over in the East. They did the 4-1 on TNT series, which were great, but they're not really ready to jump into the market yet.
Arjun Bueller is managed by the same agency as Francis Ngannou, who is currently the heavyweight champion over in one championship. So
CAA does represent both fighters. Not to give away too much, we've sat in a couple meetings on a totally different project with CAA. So we've actually got, I don't want to say some insight into what's happened here, but this car wreck has been talked about and insinuated to me between Francis and Dana for about 14 months now. I would say, since we first started having those conversations to now, about that project. And it's always been heading here. I think it's going to get a little uglier, but I don't think they do it. I think he does make that move to boxing, but I don't think he's going to sign a contract with a Bellator or something either. I think you'll see Francis maybe go over to the heavyweight boxing thing, maybe get a W, and then, like, a UFC 300 or something's going to come up, and that, time heals all things. Right now it's fresh, and he didn't put and so does money. He didn't put the belt on him, and they sent him a message saying they were going to sue him when he was on his way into a fight. That's going to leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth. It comes out, even if you're Dana, he's talking to Eddie Hearn and fucking Jake Paul, and they're sitting in on a Zoom call. I know that happened with Eddie Hearn, where they brought Francis into a Zoom call. They shouldn't have done that. That'll piss Dana White off. There's a ton of things that just are going to take time. So in the short term, no, I think Francis goes and boxes, but he hasn't fought his last fight in the octagon. What do you think, Jack? Is he done?
I think he's done. I think he has probably fought his last fight in the octagon. I think he's going to go over to boxing. He's going to make more money in boxing. And why would you ever come back to the UFC if you took multiple boxing fights, which I think he's going to do? I mean, we saw Conor take one boxing fight, and it was hard to get him back into the octagon. I think Francis is going to take multiple, and I think he's going to be done with mixed martial arts.
I mean, it's a lot safer for him too.
Is it though? Like, if he takes, if he ends up going straight in and taking the money fight with a Fury or someone,
that would be terrible.
Yeah, I don't think he will. Well, actually, I was rewatching the Jake Shields podcast, episode 3, a little bit last night, and Jake even talked about how Francis wanted to eventually make a jump into boxing, and Jake said that he didn't want to take on Tyson Fury back then right away, and that he would want to build up to that. So I'm sure that
guys there from Ruiz, Ortiz, there's guys that are, I think Francis could come in and bang with. Francis is 100% one of the smartest athletes I've ever covered in any sport. He picks up everything. Look at how far his wrestling came. Look at how far his jiu-jitsu came in the last 12 months. Look what he did to Cyril Gane. Look what he did to him. Like, that's how fast he progressed that. Give him 12 months only doing the boxing, which, he came from Cameroon to be a boxer. He didn't have dreams of being a mixed martial arts champion. He wanted to be the heavyweight boxing champion of the world, and I think he's going to get it done.
Surely the fight to make is Ngannou Wilder.
I would love
Come on.
Those are two guys that can knock your fucking head off. The Bronze Bomber and Francis Ngannou. Sign me up, man. I got a pen right here. I'll watch. But I'm in. I would love to see that, guys. But to turn it 180 here, I want to talk about some things that the boys on Monday Morning MMA just hate to see. For me, it's like Jorge Masvidal when he goes out selling fights, and he's got a big fight coming up on the 5th of March, 305, the Battle of Miami on 305. Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal, best friends turned enemies. I find that Masvidal goes to like weird outlets to promote his fights. And what's funny is, Masvidal, huge Republican in the United States, big Trump guy. Colby Covington, huge Republican, personal friend of the Donald and the Trump family, right? So he goes on Water's World, which is a show on Fox, and it's pretty funny. And they have him on talking issues and life. He deals on Nancy Pelosi a little bit, who I thought looked like Michael Jackson when I saw her on TV last. Not trying to be disrespectful, but my God, I was expecting a little. She's looking rough. He goes on there talking, right? So then Waters pulls up Colby Covington's interview with them where he says he's going to kill Jorge. He's a journeyman, this, that, and the other. And look how Jesse Waters does good conservative, man. Jorge Masvidal, look at I'm just going to show you the end of the clip. I ain't trying to fight Fox here and get into any of that, especially since they're owned by Disney now. But check this out. Look at Masvidal's face. We're going to play it twice.
You a journeyman. What's your response, Jorge?
Look at his face. Hold on.
Journeyman. What's your response, Jorge?
You can tell that's just such a news anchor. Like, you laughed at him about being called a journeyman when he's got all those losses on his record and shit. It's just like such a bad look. But when you go to places like Fox News to promote fights instead of, doing a MMA media circuit, you hate to see it. That's the kind of shit that can happen. But I was shocked to see him be so disrespectful towards Jorge Masvidal.
And I got to have Dana White on my hate to see it again. He's got more fighters going back at him again and saying they're not feeling the love. You got Buckley, who's got the self-defense guy in there that's making all the videos in his corner. And he says that he felt that he promoted his fight better than the UFC and Dana White ever has. Not feeling the love from Dana White. So he had to go to the self-defense guy to save the day. Self-defense guy greater than Dana White.
There's nothing better than Detroit urban self-defense training. Dale Brown, he's the king. But Jack, you keep going at Dana White.
That's fucking illegal.
He's going to be getting upset here soon. Frank, you know what? Frank was a little late to hate to see it. So we explained it to him. But I got one personally for Frank. Frank, is the UFC in London dead? Is that card just destined to be doomed? They the roof, the roof blows off the O2 Arena. It just feels like they're never going to get this London card up. I heard rumors that they were doing the run through a Paddy Pimblett's walkout, and the lad blew the fucking roof off the place. But surely they got to get that repair done. They're not going to.
Yeah, it's not as deep as it looks. In all honesty, you do hate to see it, and you do you just want to see UFC back in the UK. It's been 3 years now, and yeah, we need it back here. Thankfully, it's nowhere near as deep as it looks. It's more just the cover of the stadium, so not quite as deep. But yeah, something else is probably going to happen. Like, I don't know, fucking bins getting flown by the wind and the storms were in, like, smashed into the roof, dropping holes. New variant, probably, yeah, but only contained in the O2 Arena.
Yeah,
like
the Aspinall
shit like that.
Or something, yeah, where he's not going to be able to make it.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Bing bong. That's all we have for today. Those are the things we hate to see. Another thing I hate to see is when people don't follow, like, subscribe Tarps Off Sports on all platforms. Hit the Discord link in the bio, because if you don't, we'll hate to see that too. Guys, we'll catch you next week. Frank, Jack, thanks for coming. We're out of here.